Hello, I'm Jackie. Today I'm telling the movie, The Bachelor. Jimmy, after inheriting grandfather's fortune, immediately announced to find a wife. As a result, all the women in the city applied. The story started, each man was seen as a wild horse. They just want to run freely without being tied down. They can eat whatever grass they want. Jimmy was that kind of person. One day, he was breaking up with his 35th girlfriend. The conversation was kinda tense. Anne sitting behind was also breaking up. Both sides were about to burst into anger. After Jimmy left, Anne did not hesitate to tell Jimmy that, "I don't know why, but I suddenly want to have lunch with you." They came to the riverbank to eat the cake. Love is just so simple. The wild horse had found his favorite grass again. Jimmy's friends had a rule like this. In the wedding, whose girlfriend captured the bride's banquet, the couple would have to get married next month. Despite his mighty strength, in the end, a wild horse still got tied up by the marriage rope. Jimmy's friends were getting married eventually. After 3 years of love, Anne also caught the bride's banquet. Opening his eyes, he quickly ran home and took out photos of his ex-girlfriends that he had hidden. Aside was the sound of thousands of horses running. Once he got married, he can't enjoy other wild grass anymore. Just thinking about it, he felt very tragic and didn't want that scenery to happen. Jimmy's hasty grandfather then took a loudspeaker and ordered, "Get married now and have a baby." He even prepared the proposal ring. Grandfather was also a wild horse. For enlarging the bloodline, he also sacrificed the happiness of single life. Now when he thought about it, he could only cry. That evening Jimmy wanted to propose to Anne in a luxurious restaurant. The singer performing was an elite member of the Association of Good-Toothed People. Seeing such an atmosphere, something bad was going to happen. But nothing happened. Jimmy hurriedly expressed loving words. At first, he wanted to remain a wild horse. But in the end, Anne had won. Anne asked, "What did she win?" Jimmy said, "In general, you can't just stick with one toilet forever without pooping." In this romantic proposal place, he said words that smell like this. "Did you mean that I am a toilet?" Anne knew that Jimmy did not like to get married. He still wanted to be a single wild horse. She was so angry that she immediately went home telling her best friend. From then on, she received flowers from Jimmy every day. Everyone in the city also knew his famous proposal. "Don't keep on proposing the toilet. He's something stupid." Soon after, Jimmy's grandfather passed away. Anne visited Jimmy. A room full of flowers wasn't wasteful. Their love went well again. When he was alive, his grandfather had a factory with a huge fortune. All of them were inherited by Jimmy. There was a large factory in Mexico. The value was about $1 billion. Everyone there was shocked. But grandfather had a very strange request. Jimmy must get married before 30 years old. That marriage must be maintained for at least 10 years. They can only separate once a month. Within 5 years, they have to have a child. If not, they can't even earn $1. His grandfather was too mean. Tomorrow was Jimmy's 30th birthday. If he wasn't married by 6 p.m. tomorrow, he must say bye to $1 billion. The priest would provide personal service to him whenever he needed it. Jimmy immediately went to find Anne to propose, but Anne was already on vacation. Jimmy chased and knelt to propose Anne. He even brought the priest with him. She just needed to say yes, this deal would be done. Jimmy never mentioned 1 billion things. Facing questions from Anne, his mind again appeared the wild horses running wildly. She said he was not ready for marriage. The second proposal failed when Anne was on board. She was envious. So she cancelled her plan to go back to her apartment. Jimmy felt that as long as was fine, everyone would also be fine. Being single was also very good. He didn't need $1 billion. However, these shareholders said, without the money, the factory must close. Hundreds of workers will lose their jobs. There was no other way. He had to take out the photo box of his ex-girlfriends and went to propose. The first ex-girlfriend was a teller. Jimmy said she just married him and she would have $1 billion. But she had already got married. Jimmy found the salesgirl who was always waiting for him to change his mind. He hadn't even mentioned about $1 billion. She had already jumped on him. This girl liked Jimmy. She thanked Jimmy because after being rejected by Anne, he immediately thought of her. Suddenly the proposal succeeded. At this moment Jimmy suddenly saw Anne outside. He immediately followed but found out he was mistaken. Before he came back, the salesgirl was frustrated and burned the shop. Next, Jimmy found his ex-girlfriend who was an actress. She refused directly. "You think I need that $1 billion of yours?" Jimmy continued to find his ex-girlfriend who was a graduate student. This woman was a feminist. "You want to use me as a commodity to get $1 billion? You bastard, get out of my eyes." A day ended. The car was also out of work. 3 people had to use the bus to continue looking for some ex-girlfriend to propose. The priest still hadn't said anything. He was tired that he kept yawning. Anne and her best friend, who was supposed to be on vacation, due to wasting time taking selfies, they missed the train. So they had to go back home. The couple welcomed them enthusiastically. The old man had just left for 2 seconds. The old woman said, "Honey, I'm starting to miss you again." He immediately went back and kissed his wife. This just got started though. He told his wife to cover her eyes and not to peek. He had a secret gift he wanted to give her. The old woman, delighted at this sudden gift, hesitated to open it. Their daughter, Anne, couldn't stand it anymore. Quickly opened that damn box. Turned out it was the necklace the old lady loves the most. The couple started to be corny again. The 2 young girls had to suffer from this cheesy scene. The old woman asked to go to the toilet. The old man, who just sat down, quickly said to the toilet, "Honey, hurry up, I miss you so much." The 2 young girls had had enough of this. This place was not home, it was more like a place to see they being lovey-dovey. On this side, Jimmy went to the police station to continue proposing. His ex-girlfriend was a cop. Although she had to deal with criminals every day, she still retained her beauty. This was the point that made Jimmy fall in love with her. When she knew the guy proposed to her for $1 billion, she knocked him down. "You mean that you want to get married first to get $1 billion? Then find the true love of your life? Don't you even think of marrying me for the rest of your life?" Then he went to find a baker to propose. Unexpectedly, she would rather marry a waiter than be with Jimmy. Jimmy had to give up. Wanted to have the $1 billion check, but he failed 6 times. Jimmy can only hope for the arrogant girl in the aquarium. Though she looked very arrogant, she was still convinced by $1 billion. She agreed to marry Jimmy. When knowing that 2 people can only live separately once a month, she began to hesitate. Until others said, "You can put 2 beds in a room." She reluctantly married Jimmy. She heard again that this marriage must last at least 10 years, she began to hesitate again. Thinking that 10 years later, after getting divorced, she could hold half of the property, she reluctantly agreed. Then she knew that after she married Jimmy, she had to have a baby within 5 years, she could not stand it and immediately drove off. He proposed all of his ex-girlfriends, but no one agreed. Jimmy only had 17 hours left. The proposal delegation was very angry. This old man even wanted to assign his daughter to Jimmy even though his daughter was only 15 years old. But they had no other choice. $1 billion will fly out of our hands in seconds. Do whatever you want. After 10 failed proposals, the fat guy could not bear saying that, "Dude, you'd better not say anything or do anything. Wait for me at the church at 6 p.m, I will help you propose successfully." On the other side, Anne had to suffer for the cheesy scene. She constantly remembered about Jimmy. She wanted to return to him immediately. But she could not contact Jimmy. Jimmy and the priest were chatting in the park. They looked around and everywhere were couples in love. The guy was very upset. The priest finally said that he had a marriage of 26 years. They had 4 sons, 10 grandchildren. Wow, so many. After his wife died, he wanted to become a priest and showed Jimmy the photo. The priest said, "Now that I think about it, getting married is the best thing I've ever done. Having someone who truly loves you and they will get old with you. This is what is called happiness." Hearing his story, Jimmy suddenly understood. He didn't want to be a rich single person. He just wanted to marry Anne. Anne managed to call the fat guy. She said she had to get on the train and ask Jimmy out for dinner. But it was too late. The fat guy already published on the news that whoever comes to the church to marry Jimmy before 6 p.m. today can get $1 billion. Now all the girls in the city put on in wedding dresses and ran to the cathedral. Jimmy woke up being surrounded by brides. Everyone wanted to have this single rich man. Jimmy suddenly had a harem of 3,000 people. He felt like they were trying to devour him. The fat guy appeared and said, "This is just a joke." Jimmy took the chance and ran away. Anne had 40 minutes to get on the train and come back. The proposal delegation was blocking the door. Jimmy rushed to the train station to pick up Anne. The bride's army kept chasing him. He finally got in the car to the train station. Anne hadn't got off yet. She saw that article. She found her heart extremely confused. Why does Jimmy suddenly have $1 billion? Anne felt self-pity as a child. Jimmy said, "Not until now did I realize how sexy the freckles on your face are. You are the most precious gift of my life. The most romantic story of my life is being able to live with you till we get old." Anne was touched and tore, finally agreeing to marry Jimmy. She went to the restroom to change into a wedding dress. The bride's army had already arrived. All directions were surrounded. They didn't like Jimmy, they only liked his $1 billion. Jimmy was forced to go upstairs and also struggled to pass the crowd. The priest sitting in the car was also being swayed. He had prepared for the wedding. Anne declared, "From now on, Jimmy is mine." The movie is called The Bachelor. It tells a story about a guy with $1 billion has to announce the news to get married. Don't forget to like and follow me to meet in our next video.